Hey everyone, I'm Marissa. In today's video, what won the weekly poll, I feel like this was probably one of the worst poll results we've gotten, was what's the big deal? And it was the what's the big deal about a facial, and what's the deal with skin typing with estheticians. And the one that won was skin typing, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. The reason why, let's just quickly encompass this. The reason why skin typing is so important for estheticians, even dermatologists, is it helps us determine the type of treatment we need to, basically, as a whole, what we need to do for our clients. Okay, that's just a quick overall view before we really get into it. The first one we're going to talk about, because there's two main skin classification systems that are more mainstream that we're going to be talking about in this video. The first one is the Fitzpatrick Scale. This is invented by Thomas Fitzpatrick, and it's used to measure the skin type's tolerance to sun exposure. Okay, now there is 6 types in this scale. The first one is type 1. This is people who are very fair skinned, blonde, red hair, light colored. Freckles are more common in this type. They always burn, they never tan, and they are high risk for skin cancer and vascular damage. The next one is type 2. This is fair skinned, they are light eyes, light hair. They hardly ever tan, they burn very easily, and they're still very high risk for skin cancer and vascular damage. The next one is type 3. It's a very common skin type. Hair and eye color vary. This one sometimes burns, they gradually tan, risk of hypopigmentation, and also still a risk, more of a moderate risk for skin cancer and, vascular damage. All right, the next one is type 4, and this is Mediterranean Caucasian. They're dark brown hair, I got the hiccups, I swear. Medium to heavy pigmentation, usually in this classification. Rarely burns, tans very easily, high risk of hypopigmentation, moderate risk of skin cancer, and vascular damage. The next one we're going to be talking about is type 5, and this is I cannot speak. It's Middle Eastern skin type, dark and black hair, brown eyes. Rarely are they sun sensitive, okay? Their skin darkens, they rarely ever burn. They have very low risk of skin cancer, very high risk of hypopigmentation. They have high risk for scarring and trauma. You probably can see it. Moderate risk for vascular damage, and they are also have a lower risk of solar pigmented conditions such as acidic aging. This is something that happens when you're overexposed to the sun, and it causes premature aging in the skin. Type 6 is black skin, brown eyes. Rarely ever are they sun sensitive. Tans easily. It rarely ever burns. Very high risk of hypopigmentation. Very high risk for scarring, trauma. You can probably even see it if they got any going on. So this is like those that want to get rid of it. This is super hard to treat. Very low to moderate risk of vascular damage. Very low risk for sun damage causing premature aging, which is the arsenic that I was talking about. That is the Fitzpatrick Scale. The next one we're going to talk about, I'm probably going to butcher the name, so please forgive me, is the Glaco Scale. And this is basing photo damage. This is evaluates photo damage, sun damage based on wrinkling. Type 1, this is minimal. This is usually someone between the age 20 to 30. Type 2 shows wrinkles are visible while in motion. This is usually between 30s to 40s. Type 3 shows wrinkles at advanced advanced photo damage, and even when your face is resting. This is usually between the ages of 40 to 50. Type 4 shows the arsenic aging that I was telling you about. That happens when the skin has been overexposed to the sun. That means this happens at any age where they show massive amount of wrinkles. That is the Glaco scale. That's how they evaluate that. So these are the two main, and I say main because there's more out there, that estheticians and dermatologists use to evaluate someone's skin and base off the treatment that we should cater towards them. So if we have someone that has off the Fitzpatrick scale that has type 6 skin type and they want to treat their hyper or hypopigmentation, it's going to be a lot harder for us to treat. And if you do a chemical peel on them and it goes wrong, it'll be more easy to scar. Whereas a type 1, well, that's a lot easier to treat for hyper, if they even have that pigmentation, or they want to treat some scarring, that's a lot easier to treat. So it's very important that we evaluate and we discuss these options very honestly with these patients who, and we say as a general rule, fit into these characteristics, okay? Same thing with the Glaco scale. When someone is in their 40s that shows very, very little wrinkles, that doesn't mean they're gonna, excuse me, let me rephrase that. That doesn't mean if someone's in their 40s that's gonna show photo damaging and they're gonna have some wrinkles when they're resting. But no, absolutely not. They could fit under the type 1 easily. This is just a general rule of thumb that we follow to base this off. That's why it's super important that as estheticians we discuss this and say, hey, that's great. You are 40 years old and you have very little wrinkles showing. That's great. It means you're taking excellent care of your skin and you have very little to show for photo damage. Whereas if you are fit under the type 4 and you're in your 20s and you're showing that, it's like, wow, you have not taken care of your skin. It looks like you went out and baked yourself under the sun until you burnt and burnt and burnt again. And it's gonna be very hard to treat. So that's why we wanted to talk about this, because this is something you should really know and be familiarized with. Because if you do fall into the Fitzpatrick scale and you're type 1 through 6, you need to know, okay, well, this is where I generally fall. And okay, in my type 1, okay, I never ever tan, I burn super easily, and I have blonde or red hair, and I'm like eye colored. So, and you got some freckles, all right? Well, there you go. So you got that going on for you, and you're obviously gonna be at higher risk for skin cancer. Please put on some SPF. Whereas if you are type 4 or 5, Mediterranean, Caucasian, Middle Eastern, or even, of African descent, skin cancer is not really a big concern for you, so SPF isn't going to be a high priority, whereas hypopigmentation is going to be more of your concern or scarring. So this is something just to keep in mind that I feel like this should be known. Like, hey, you should know where you fall into and why this is a big deal. Same thing with the Glaco scale, which is not something that's more commonly talked about, because people are like, well, I need to wear SPF to help prevent sun damage, that way I don't have to worry about wrinkles as much. Where, well, no, that's not exactly how it works. That's just a general rule of thumb, because when you age, you lose elasticity and water is more out of your skin, and it's a little bit harder to treat when you get older and you get more wrinkles, which is the general rule of thumb of what happens. If you are a type 1 and you are on the Fitzpatrick and you think, okay, so I'm a type 1 here and I'm a type 1 there, I don't gotta worry about it. No. Always wear SPF. Even if you're a type 1 on the Glaco and you're type 6 on the Fitzpatrick, please wear SPF, because you don't want to get photo damage skin where you have, you're wrinkled at 30. You don't want that. So please keep this in mind. This is just information that you should be aware of to help you, like, at home, because not everyone can afford to go to an esthetician or get a facial every couple weeks. So this is like really good information I feel like you should know. So you'd be like, okay, well, obviously I fit onto this and I need to do this. So you know what to do. That's another reason why we decided to start the blog, so we could share this information with you guys, okay? Awesome. So if you have any questions about skin typing or skin classification systems, which is what we were talking about, please feel free to comment or message and we will get back to you and answer any questions you have. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I can't wait to talk to y'all next Saturday. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.